We all go a little mad sometimes. Get you. Here's Johnny.
Hello, and welcome to the Horror Hour, the show where we discuss, debate, and disagree on all things horror. I'm one of the hosts here, Yutaka. Hello. And then I'm joined by my co-host, George.
Good afternoon, morning, and night, because we're all different time zones. But
That's
hello.
True.
I should just say hello. I always do that. And then I think, because you never know when people are going to be watching. Anyway, sorry, I dragged that out.
And today we're really excited. We're actually joined with some more VHS 94 folks. We've got writer-director Ryan Prows.
Hello.
And then we've got actor Christian Lloyd, who was Commandant Greg.
Hello.
And then Steven McCarthy, who was Jimmy.
Yo.
What was your designation? Fanzer Pursed Jimmy or something?
I feel like you just came up with that in an email last week.
So, well, I guess the first question is, how does it feel to have the biggest premiere ever on Shudder?
We fucking did it. Can you curse here? Is this a cursing zone?
Yeah, oh, you can.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We fucking did it.
I think Ryan called this shot. He called it from the time we were on set. He was like, he was like Babe Ruth. He was like, this is gonna hit, no problem.
Yeah. We were kind of just, I don't know, like maybe too full of ourselves with how well we knew we were doing and how well it was gonna go over.
Yeah, we were just more worried about the other films if they'd be able to keep up, frankly.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I mean, it's been like such a, and in the short space of time as well, like I think it was only like a week after it even aired, they were like, oh no, this is huge. And so, and for that to be as well part of a franchise that's already, you know, there's a lot of, especially in horror movies, there's a lot of, you know, things people think, oh, the further on you get with these, like any franchise, that it can dwindle, which is obviously isn't always the case. And this is definitely one of those times where I think, you know, this just brought like a breath of fresh air to the whole, not just VHS and horror, but just also to found footage, because I'm a huge fan of found footage films. They're my favorite type of horror movie. So this, to see all of them, and I just think having all of them together and having those different stories, just it makes it just such an interesting film, because you get these glimpses into these worlds and you're like, well, hang on, where else could this go? But obviously, so you kind of basically rounded off the movie with The Terror. When you're sort of told, you know, or asked to do these segments, do they like kind of tell you whereabout you're going to go? Or is it just kind of, you're just going to do it and we'll place you wherever?
Yeah, no, they had I think a little bit of a idea going into it, just off of script and script length and everything. And I think the only thing that swapped was Chloe's segment and Simon's segment. The first two, I think Simon was initially slotted to go first, and then they swapped it around. But yeah, it was from I think once they had all the scripts together, they kind of knew at least a rough order. And I think that's how the other ones worked too, is they had kind of gone into it, you know, with an idea, and then I guess sort of see how it plays all together. It was cool. Like, I actually hadn't, I'd seen all the segments. I hadn't seen Timo's until like pretty close to air. I'd seen like a rough version of his, but it was really cool to see them all together and play, and, you know, in a line. And it makes such a difference of like, I don't know, the ups and downs are really fun to kind of watch through the whole thing.
So I'm curious then too, as the actors, because, well, I think it was Simon, or if it was either how you described this or how Simon described this, but like a Monty Python version of white supremacy, which it made me laugh. But I was like, oh yeah, that's hilarious. So
isn't all white supremacy Monty Python version?
Yeah, exactly.
But I have to ask then, as the actors, when you read this script, what were your thoughts?
Christian? come on down. Hair come on down.
Well, it's funny because when I read it, it sort of reads like an action, your sort of typical action film. And I think when I sort of tapped into it, it was like, how can I, as someone who's not that person at all, invest in this character? And by doing that, just the way that I personally look, which, yes, Ryan likes to say, Steve Bannon prototype.
Steve Bannon's a little bro.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I've said that before myself. But just the fact that just physically me being this guy, that's the comedy in it. So the more that I invest and the more that I sort of throw myself into his truth, then the comedy is just there as a given. But it was nothing that we sort of, I think we were all up to play, and the play just created this insane world of these characters, and we all gelled together instantly. So I think for us, I mean, there was definitely a time where Ryan was like, okay, guys, that's as far as we're going to lean that way. Let's just sort of rope this back. But I will say the driving force of this film is Ryan's incredible laugh, because Ryan has this laugh that is so infectious, and that there's something really wrong, but hilarious and brilliant happening. And so the more we got that laugh between him and a good friend of his, Benjamin Kitchens, who's the DP, listening to the two of them and their shorthand, we sort of always knew that we were on the right track and definitely walking the tightrope the right way. So in terms of attacking it as, oh, we're these people, I don't think that ever went in our heads. We just sort of went with the story that was written. But obviously what's come out of that is this hilarious, dark, awful reality.
I was just so excited that someone had written something that was actually about something scary in our world today. That's what inspired me the most. And I don't know if I got it. It must have been after January 6th, but the whole world was still reeling. Even us Canadians looking over our shoulders at everything going down in that country down there. We were. I think the whole world was like, oh, it's finally coming apart at the seams. Like it seems to have been. And so to have something. To me, one of my favorite things about genre is that it's that old adage, if you want a man to tell you the truth, let him put on a mask. And I feel like horror is one of those things that you can kind of enjoy the tropes, and it can let you see something that is actually quite frightening and scary. And so we had a blast, like Christian said, on set making it, and it was so fun and such a kind of collective. Ryan made such a kind of open-minded and kind of best idea wins type of atmosphere. There was no sort of egos. He cast all of these people, from tape and from Zoom meetings, and everyone really had the same kind of working methodology and no bullshit. And when I saw the film, I was surprised at how strangely realistic it actually seemed. I thought it would be a bit more. I thought it would be a bit more The Office or Waiting for Guffman a little bit. I thought it would let people off the hook a little bit. And there's something, I don't know if it's maybe George wants to speak to the kind of found footage quality. It makes it, or maybe it's just what we know is real in the news every day. And QAnon supporters waiting for JFK Jr. And you know what I mean? Like that's fucking. You can't write something funnier than that. And so I think scarier, yeah. And so we're not at arm's length anymore, looking at these people, laughing at them. We're kind of like, they are among us, like it's real. Be afraid. Yeah.
No, it's definitely that. And then we're talking about sort of again like the approach to it. Ryan, like what came first, the white supremacists or the vampires in your mind for the story?
The chicken or the egg?
Yeah.
I had a while ago, I did have an idea for the vampire, and it was more of like a four lions, you're actually living with a terror cell of vampires that are going to do this thing. And after the idea for this short specifically came from when they were the plot to kidnap the Michigan governor, and they kind of just like no one talked about it after I mean, it didn't happen, but then everyone kind of just moved on. And that was then like, you know, sort of the idea of like, oh, that's actually better. That is terrorism, and even a more present real terrorism that no one's really talking about. I mean, like even, you know, pitching it around, you're like, it's white supremacy, it's white terrorism, but like you don't, like everyone sort of trips up on it. It's like, these are fucking terrorists, you know? So it was, I just felt like that's such a good marriage of those two concepts. And so vampire first, into the terrorism thing, the militia thing. But I feel like that was like the only way that initial vampire idea was going to work, or the best way it was going to work, was to step outside of it a little bit and have like other guys using it, you know, as a weapon more so than you're with the vampires. And it being like a fun reveal, you know.
Well,
I mean, like, oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I never, when watching it, obviously until the end that you see that, but I mean, the bunny exploding was probably, I'm like, what the fuck just happened?
Phoebe.
Yeah.
The first Mario to the cause.
Yeah.
One of my favorite ad libs. Yeah, and that was like, I got presented 2 separate rabbits to use, and like rabbit headshots, and sent them to my wife. And I was like, which one? She was like, not Phoebe. I was like, okay, awesome. Phoebe's the one, because like, it's the most
the cute one. Yeah,
yeah,
we're killing the cutest
extremely
one.
fuzzy, cute bunny you do not want to see get exploded.
Or Phoebe.
R.I.P. Phoebe.
And then
Not really. No bunnies were harmed, etc.
Of course.
Etc.
Yeah.
so where now this was all shot up or shot in Canada, is that correct? I think
Mhm.
where you all are on with I'm curious just with the setting and all, where in Canada was this filmed?
It was outside of Toronto, and let's see, it wasn't, Hamilton was the main city, and then what was the actual little hamlet we were in?
We were in Burlington kind of area.
Burlington,
Yeah, like in
that's what it
a
was.
someone's crazy farm complex thing that this set designer and set deck team just transformed over the course of like 5 days or something insane.
Yeah, they went in. It was wild. They were like basically, you know, shifts sleeping there, just building that out. It was so cool. Josh Turpin was the production designer, and he would like, you know, either just like FaceTime me or call and be like, how about this? I'm thinking I've got a new idea for, you know, like I'm gonna build out a whole obstacle course at there. I'm like, incredible. Keep going, please. It was so cool. It was wild. Like I don't know, probably a day or two, like all the actors had moved into the hotel, and then probably like, and that was like a day or two before we started shooting. And I just went down there that night, and like, yeah, it felt like stepping into another world. Like the whole barn had been built out.
Oh, wow.
They built the the cage was actually in the hayloft, so you did walk up into it, like up a ladder to get to it and everything. It was incredible. They did such great work I mean, truly, you know, turned a little into a lot. It was wild.
I sometimes I just had this thought. I kind of wonder, you know, like Canadians have such a history. Probably most Americans don't even think about it, but Saturday Night Live and SCTV and sort of like so much satire about America is done by Canadians in America. And I it strikes me that I wonder exactly what the difference would have been if you had like American actors who maybe were more prone to the excitement of like actually embodying the sort of heroic sides of these guys, or
Right.
like, you know, the action hero part, as Christian talked about. I wonder if there would be any difference, because it is funny to think that it is indeed like a kind of a satire on America from with a little bit of a Canadian content point of view in your casting. I don't know.
Yeah, growing up I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia, but like shooting in Georgia and doing that type of satire in Georgia as well. Yeah, you're right. It did not go over. It was a lot harder to kind of pull off and like be sly about, you know, like it was a thing to sort of consider.
Well, one thing I just wanted to add was just talking about the set. That so often, you'll do a shot where you're, coming out of the house, and that location is 20 miles away from the next scene where you're walking into. So to have the luxury of our set being, this sort of, plastic set where, you'd go from here to there in the reality of your walking was just amazing as an actor. And I think that really helped place us in that environment more so than anything I think I've ever shot, because, there was nothing that was built that wasn't an existing foundational, environment.
Yeah, they were so smart about how they built, and you're right, like how they built into everything and used everything there. And like, I mean, he found, it was just it was a farmhouse and a workshop, but like, I think it was like a widow owned it, and her husband was the one who had the workshop and everything, and he had passed away. So like all of the stuff was just sitting in there, and they pulled a lot of that stuff out and used it. And it was wild. It was kind of above and beyond. Like, I mean, we often joke we probably shot enough for a feature, but like we could have just straight up, I don't know, like had another week there and turned a feature, and just off of all of the he built out the whole, like, I mean, he didn't have like all the bedding, but he built out like the barracks. I wish we could have shot more in there. It was incredible.
Wow.
Like this like workshop that like all the other guys are, and like we had a shot, but we ended up cutting it. But like, and you do see a little bit in the film, but like there's a house on the property that like Herr Commandant Greg is basically taking over, and like all the other guys are just sleeping out in the woodshed. It's like like the hierarchy of like what was built even just on the property was really great.
Yeah. I'm still pushing Ryan and pushing Shudder to release the director's cut at some point.
Oh yeah.
just the extras. Ryan's script was so tight that part of our process was we had time because partially because of the found footage nature of it having to look like they shot it themselves. We weren't doing setups and lighting and like, move in on this person and coverage on this person. It would be like you do a 4-page scene, all of us, and it'd be like, I guess it's lunch. Like we'd be like 9 a.m. We'd be like, and so Ryan did a lot of taking advantage of that time to shoot other stuff, that some of which ended up in the movie, but a lot of which didn't, including interviews with different, kind of militia members about their roles and their, personal squabbles, and almost like a reality TV show where you're kind of having the confessional kind of nature of kind of thing. And he would ask prompting kind of improv questions. So you're basically improvising with Ryan as the off-camera voice, being like, what did you pissed in Steve's shoe last week? What happened with that? He just asked these little prompts and you just go. And so somewhere, someday that's going to see the light of day, and we'll all be richer for it.
Well, that
it's got to be
segues.
at least. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's fine. We can keep talking about, because it segues perfect into the next question, which is, would you like to further explore this universe in some way with some sort of, as you said, a director's cut there? But do you think there is more that can be told with either these characters or these vampire, the vampire and the others that are around?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I mean, the biggest question we kept like kicking back and forth on the set was like, how did these guys get a hold of the vampire in the first place?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a cool story.
Theory.
Yeah. Especially because the costume design gives you some clues, that he's kind of like in a suit, and that he seems to be maybe like a banker or a financial, like he's got some sort of, he's a youngish guy. So I love all those questions about how did they figure it out? What was the sign from God that led them to this thing? How did they test the theory? How did they in fact, kidnap, the guy? And there's so much there that's actually amazing questions.
And just, I mean, it was again a testament to the to the cast, and like it was so fun, but it felt like on one hand, it's like it's a one and done. It's really awesome. Like it felt like it built an awesome, like a bigger world and like fuller, rich characters out of it. But then on the other hand, it was so fun, and you do have so much more, I feel like, gas in the tank there of like, I don't know, like you could do definitely another, at least a felt like a feature out of it, just because it was unfortunately the militia stuff's not going away anytime soon. So
Yeah.
Sadly, that's true.
And yeah, I don't know, like I had such a, it was like it was so fun, like pushing the vampire element itself, like as far as we went with it, and kind of having fun and doing different stuff with that. That, like, you know, that to me is like, okay, how do you're almost building a new lore. So it's, yeah, there's so much like fertile ground in there.
But I mean, speaking of fertile ground for satire, I mean, I kept joking. I said, this would literally be the show that would freak people out if you did like an Office version or like a limited series of these guys, as you kind of got to know their daily life and how, you know, their Bible meetings, or the practice of, like, you know, kind of like, you know, what has Q been saying lately, or like this, you know, it would, you would not have to, you could play it so straight and it would be so horrifying, because everyone's fucking uncle is out there like doing this stuff now, and it's actually the one thing that I think, maybe other than maybe the race, that actually is a wound that would be really fun to actually press on and make people squirm. So I really thought, what an amazing sort of series this would be, to kind of, because in a series, you know, you get to know these people and you're supposed to like them, you know, in American, you know, kind of parlance, but like something that really cut hard, like the British Office, but about these guys just going about their daily lives, trying to, you know, make their life and raise their, you know, get the rent covered and shit like that. I think it's amazing. Right.
Yeah, we did also kind of like, I mean, again, and just having fun and all those improvs and stuff like that, that reminded me of like digging into like who's actually like married, who's like kind of like got kids, who stepped away from their family to like come camp out for a bit. Like, I don't know. Yeah, there's tons of stuff to do with that. But yeah, come on, Shudder. Biggest, I feel like Terror is at least 1/4 responsible, or 1/5 responsible for the biggest screening. So help us out.
I mean, I want to see more of Commandant Greg, because that was hilarious. But as you guys said, that, you know, as I was watching it, I was laughing. But again, yes, with everything that's gone on in America, I was like, oh, this hits a little deeper than I was expecting. So I'm glad there was, I mean, you're making that satire, but I really enjoyed it. The only thing I have to also am curious about is the bell. That alarm. I can tell you, as I was watching it, that it was so jarring, and I'm just wondering how that was for everyone else.
Well, that
the bell did not exist on set. We didn't ring the bell.
Oh.
So was it just Ryan shouting, "Go, go, go"?
Yeah, little movie magic.
Well, that scene where I'm shooting The Prisoner the second time, and I'm like, someone shut off that fucking bell. You know, there's just a moment of me in total quiet being like, someone turn off the fucking bell. It just works so beautifully with you know, with that. Yeah, it's an awful effect.
Yeah, it comes at the perfect time too, because, you know, we got to see it twice with an audience, which was really awesome at Fantastic Fest and Beyond Fest. But you can feel everybody being like, "All right, that's enough with the bell," and Commandant Greg comes in right at the moment. I'm like, "Someone shut off that fucking bell, please, God." So, you know, it's a cinematic weaving of sorts, if you will. Just playing with the audience, putty in my hands with annoying the fuck out of them with a bell.
It was like, you're like, for God's sake. So you kind of, I never thought I would relate to Greg so much.
Exactly. We're all human.
Yeah.
We all hate
that
a bell.
was the one time. Let me make that clear. That was the time talking about the bell, guys. Okay, nothing else in this.
Yeah.
Well, so talking about that's post, I was interested to know how much of the effects were VFX compared to like practical throughout it as well.
Yeah, we did everything practically, and then some VFX augmentation. But shouts out to Patrick McGee. He designed and built the creature, and I guess like I can give it away now because he did a really cool Fangoria interview where he talked specifically about it. So I was like, I don't really know that. Am I allowed to talk about how he did it or what the deal is? But it was so cool. It was so smart. He like he fabricated the Ratma creature as well for Chloe's segment. I can't remember, someone actually designed, or you guys are having Chloe on there, she can talk about it, whatever. But for the vampire, you know, it was so like, he was in LA, we're in Toronto, so he was like had to figure out how to do it super lo-fi, and the actor actually puts his hands into it, so he's puppeteering the mouth himself with his hands. It was just like genius. It was such a cool, very easy, like understandable thing to sort of like, he was telling me about it and I was like, oh, that's gonna work really awesome. So because we were initially talking about, oh, do you do like, I don't know, servos and weird whatever kind of stuff, and all of that would have definitely failed with how cold it was there, because everything else was like falling apart technically. So I'm really glad that he did just the hand puppet monster. But yeah, James Sled did our explosions, and those were really fun. The second one, when Steve blows up, he was like, how big do you want the explosion? I was like, well, I mean, however, the bigger you can make it, the funnier it will be. And he was like, oh, I can get it over the barn. It'll be taller than the barn. So it was just like, oh, all right, do that, please. And I don't know his name, unfortunately, but the actual stunt dude who was there, I've never seen something like this. He'd already gotten killed by friendly fire and was laying on the ground, like safe distance from it. But you can actually watch the footage. That's not a dummy. He doesn't move. The explosion goes off right near him and he doesn't flinch, doesn't move anything. It was incredible.
That's dedication to your craft.
Yeah, something. Inhuman ability to not flinch at large, very large barn tall explosions.
I still remember getting my makeup done for my final like death and everything, and it was the scene Christian was shooting in the barn, and so I'm like, I don't know, 500 feet away or so in the house, in another room, in another thing, and he was doing the scene with the M16 where he shoots up into the hayloft, and I just about jumped out of my fucking chair, like just doing makeup on my. I'm like, what the fuck? The sound of these things was insane. Not to mention the 50 cal day, which was everyone's, kind of like everyone wet their pants a little bit. Yeah.
Oh.
It was cold.
And actually the practical effects, I got to sit down with Pat, and that was very interesting.
Oh, you guys talked to him? Yeah, he's so cool.
Like how the design and the fact that he's creating this and it has to get shipped. Like he's not there on set to be able to make any of the finishing touches. So then he's got a team there.
Well,
you all had a team.
Sorry for shouting out Fangoria. I didn't know you guys did an interview. Like, fuck that other one. Watch your interview with Fangoria.
Yeah, exactly.
No, we love Fangoria, but we're
no, fuck them. Horror hour all day.
Yeah.
Fangoria out.
Yeah, we love VHS 94. So anyone that's got anything to do with it, we're like, please let us talk to you.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
he does like really great stuff, but he's such a smart guy and thoughtful about it, and obviously very knowledgeable. So like it was just really like a treat to he was like, okay, well, he read the script and was like, what are you thinking? And I threw out an idea, but it was like, yo, dude, like you're the beast, like go off and do whatever you want. Like I'm not going to tell you how to do something incredible. And he delivered in spades.
Mm-hmm. And Daniela and her team on set doing some of the other stuff was
they did all the actual like the application and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they killed it. They kept having to deal with the blood freezing in the tubes itself. So like, man,
it's very cold.
How cold was it up there? Good Lord. Or I guess when about were you all filming then?
It was in February, like early February.
Wow.
It was cold.
Coldest time. The coldest time of year.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Coldest, driest, coldest time.
One thing I just wanted to add about the explosion is Daniela came up to me and, was basically applying the sort of dirt to my face, but I had no idea that it was like a Bugs Bunny explosion dirt. Like I thought it was just like a bit on my eye, a bit on my thing, And when I came up and did that whole scene, I had no clue what was on my face. And when I went back in to sort of warm up after, I was like, "Oh my God, this is insane and hilarious."
It was completely blacked out.
Oh,
Yeah,
eyes,
like,
yeah.
She kept looking at me like, "Is that?" I'm like, "No, keep going." That's like, that's great.
So, well, I'm curious too. How was it also? Because I believe you guys were also filming during. Was lockdown happening during COVID?
Oh yeah,
big time.
Did that change any of the elements of the story or the process you were taking with this film?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, indie filmmaking is like you got to kind of be water with it anyways, just because you got to flow with what's happening. So it was just an added extra. Jennifer Reeder like put it so well, like in some other interviews I was doing with her. She, she's like, filmmaking is hard enough, and then like you can't like the local stores, like the big box chains or whatever, they had to have essentials there, and like so they'd gotten rid of all their, you normally go get a pack of t-shirts or whatever, even that you had to get ordered and shipped to you. So it was like it was definitely like having to plan all of that stuff ahead of time, having to kind of know even before I left LA to go, like, I was there 2 weeks ahead of time to quarantine and you do all that. But like, we were trying to get as much stuff ordered and sort of figured out, costuming wise, effect, everything like, up there before I even touched down. And then, we found like they had scouted and found the farm, before I got there. So that was actually super, super helpful. But, everything else was like, trying to get the props or the wardrobe, any of that stuff had to be either ordered or kind of, I don't know, sort of sorted out. And then on top of that, you're quarantining, you're testing, you're like, you got to be safe with all that, but that's like just, another headache added to it and another cost and everything. So yeah, it was like.
There was also the very totally mind-blowing moment when on the last day we had a little party, we were all together in this hotel for the time, we're all supposed to sort of stay in our rooms, and some of us, Christian and I've known each other for like 20 years, so we were hanging out a little bit, and then people would come to my room and stuff like that. Anyway, the last night, then everyone is in a room with their masks off because everyone's like, fuck it, who cares now, we're done. And nobody's face makes sense because everyone has a different face than you imagined from their voice. And so we're all like, whoa, did you see Ben from Props? Did you what's his lips? Like it was yeah. We were tripping balls.
And even to say too, it was just trippy to have been in lockdown for a year leading up to that, and to even be able to shoot something was great, Yeah. So there was like pluses and minuses obviously to it. It was a great experience.
I also think what was great is because we, all ate breakfast collectively. We would go to a room and pick up a breakfast. It was an amazing time where you're not on set. There's no distractions, and I could say, "Hey, Ryan, what do you think of this?" Whereas in usual circumstances, you wouldn't really have that luxury of a director standing in line waiting for his eggs. The eggs would be delivered and he'd be onto something else, or she'd be onto something else. So it just had this thing where, at 11 o'clock, if I'm walking down the hall and Ryan's there, it's a perfect time to ask a question or insight or blah, blah, blah. And I feel like it felt like we were at camp.
Yeah.
Camp, which really, I think, helped. I honestly think the film would have been completely different if we all went home at the end of the night. But the fact that we were trapped in this fart cannon,
or if we'd had trailers,
almost a militia compound that we were living on.
Yeah,
Holiday Inn version of the militia compound. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ryan would invite us. Ryan is one of those rare directors who is so open. He's not he doesn't fear people's opinions, so he invited us to have a beer and come and watch the rushes a couple of nights. And it was a very open, collaborative process. And I think part of it is that camp feeling where you're kind of like all stuck together, so why not have a good time?
See, I think you can sort of see that as well throughout the film. Like you can kind of see, like I think it really helps to the character, to add to the character as well, because you kind of really get involved. And again, obviously found footage helps towards that, to kind of make you feel like these people know each other. But it did really seem like everybody did, so it makes a lot of sense that that was the case. I was wondering as well, though. Obviously, a lot of the other projects within 94 either have like Easter eggs to various other something in the VHS universe or other non-VHS movies. And I was wondering, was there anything that you had put in or were thinking of putting in that was a sort of Easter egg towards either the VHS universe or just horror films or anything in general?
I mean, no, I really liked the VHS films. Like even when I got like brought on, I was super stoked and knew a bunch of the filmmakers beforehand and everything, but not necessarily that so much as it was like, oh man, these are my favorites out of here, and like we got to like show and prove and do be part of the canon. But when we were on set, like there was one specific we were in one of the hallways in the barn, and the barn inside the barn was colder than outside. Just I don't know, because I guess you're just trapped in there, you're out of the sun or whatever. But we're in the hallway, and I hadn't, I mean, obviously, snow and horror stuff and some kind of creature with its mouth dangling open is going to remind you of the thing. Yeah, but when I was in this hallway, all of the snow had actually, and I'm from Atlanta and I live in LA, so I don't really know snow. All the snow had drifted up on the sides of the hallway itself, and I was like, that looks like the thing. Like we didn't plan that, but I was like, oh, that's real. Okay, shit. Like we're making the thing here. So that was my my Easter egg to myself, and I was like super stoked once I saw that. But yeah, I loved it was more the really cool thing to the VHS series that I didn't know going into it, but when I pitched the script or the concept before I wrote the script, Brad Miska had said their initial concept for it was it would be like each segment or whatever monster or whatever would be like VHS's take on like a famous monster or like a famous sort of legend or whatever. And they hadn't done a vampire yet, so that was really cool to be able to add like vampire to sort of the VHS lore. It was pretty fun.
Yeah, there we go.
So I'm curious, we're just on set, were any of you for you guys as the actors, were any of your scenes improvised to add anything to it? I'm just curious. I mean,
the short answer is they didn't make the movie.
Oh.
But I think what the script was so tight. It was like a little Swiss watch. Like it just everything made such perfect sense. And I think because Ryan could have the confidence that the storytelling of the script was so everything just led to the other, and there was this element of mystery. Who is the guy? Why are they killing him over again? Is this the same thing happening? Do we go back in time? What is going, all of those things were such great little mysteries built into the thing. I think, speaking as an actor, like watching someone's process, it felt like because he knew what he had, and because of the found footage style, you can cover a lot of ground in very little time, and you're not doing specific lighting setups because there's no lighting ever. You can kind of play, and so there is like tiny little elements that I think made it into the movie. Maybe you guys know what actually made it into the movie, but it was more like it made the process amazing, and I think it made the kind of conversations within those scenes, especially scenes where there was groups or people that were all kind of working together, or in the van when we're scoping out the
Oh,
the Capitol building, you know, like there was little elements here and there, and it was almost like the process was so enjoyably loose that it made us feel like we could add little bits of glue. But in the end, I think Ryan, when he came back, he went back to a nice tight thing to make the movie just like fucking. No, there's not a lot of room for kind of like getting to know these guys for the sake of getting to know them, which I love, which is sort of reminds me of The Thing. There's not one conversation in The Thing that is about like, here's me getting, you know, like talking about something from my past. Everything is about the fucking problem at hand. You don't have to like or get to know anybody other than like dealing with the problem. So I think I love that about what Ryan did with the edit, but maybe you guys can speak more to what little moments that made it in.
Well, I think for me, because my character, you know, has some highfalutin words, I just sort of went back and you know, I checked out some Bible quotes that might relate to this character. And I bought this new program called Liquid Text. If anyone is doing a research paper or a script, what you can do is you can sort of attach images and quotes to a specific line of dialogue. And then once you press it, it shows you all these sidebars. It's very cool. Anyway, totally geeked out on that. So for me, I sort of had these back pocket things. There were more things for my character to sort of look at before shooting a scene necessarily than actually saying them out loud. And I have to say the first shot of shooting the prisoner inside, there's this thing called the kabuki, which is this like pipe that comes out the back of their head and sprays banana and blood. And because it was so cold, the blood was congealing with the banana and it wasn't happening. So there was one take where, you know, there's dead air. And as an actor, dead air just feels like, should I add to this dead air and create a moment? Or, you know, do we just wait for a special effect? And I'm more, let's add to the moment. And so there was the first time I was sitting there and I was like, oh my God, this is a perfect time for a Bible quote. And it wasn't really a thought, it was an impulse. And I just went, phew, and I said this Bible quote. And all of a sudden I was like, fuck, I'm an asshole. I'm an idiot. This is terrible. Who am I? You know, and all those horrible feelings. And then I looked over and Ryan, and he had this like glint in his eye and he was like, keep the quote, you know? And I was like, oh, this is amazing. And so for that moment, I was like, okay, I'm not going to deliberately add these moments. But when, you know, for example, when I'm talking to the guys in the dark and I say, you know, let's you know, drink up to the retribution. I'm like, these guys may not know what that means. So then I said you know, let's get, you know, cork high and bottle deep. And I was like, they wouldn't even know what that means. Let's get fucking wasted, you know? So it was just this freedom where we could do that. But I will say my favorite ad lib wasn't from me. It was from Steve. And a helicopter flew by in the middle of one of the takes. And usually in production, you shut that down, you wait. And it was flying over us. And Steve goes, suck on my Second Amendment. And it was just, it was amazing.
Incredible.
Really.
Incredible.
Yeah, it was incredible.
That was a rough day to cut that one because I was in the cut for a long time too, but it didn't make sense in there. Like Steve said, we just had to keep building the narrative. But yeah, no, I loved, I mean, Blu-ray.
Yeah.
Yes. For sure. Like we got to get all those, like I had them pull all of those and like prep all of the interviews and stuff. So like they're good to go. Like we should definitely use those for the Blu-ray or something. But which I do think that I've heard that they are going to do, like not officially, but like they usually do. Like Shudder will do Blu-rays for stuff. So that would be really dope if they do physical media for it.
Yeah.
But no, like, you know, some of my favorite moments in there are ad libs from everyone. I do think, you know, it was like, okay, the narrative's, you know, it is tight. You're making a short, you know, it's like try and keep it as succinct as possible while still having that life to it. And they all brought really great sort of ideas and little character bits. One of my favorites is when Steve's getting out of the van, the puddle, like there was a puddle there and he said something about like, thanks for the puddle or whatever. Like that always makes me laugh. So yeah, I don't
thanks
know.
for dropping me in front of the fucking puddle, Steve. Yeah.
That's incredible. And that's like, again, not like that's just gonna happen there. I'm not writing. I'm not thinking about, oh, there's gonna be a frozen puddle there or whatever. So like those are those. But that's I love me at like personally as a filmmaker. I love being able to write and like, or at least be a part of the process of the script, so that there is that freedom when we get on set with the actors to feel like, oh, okay, we own this. This is our thing. And they can kind of like form it, take it. You know, my job is definitely to get them to where that stuff feels real. And if it helps to throw other stuff in or whatever, or like loosens up the vibe of it, like that's, you know, that's like the name of the game. So like everybody, I was really like, I mean, we you know, super lucky, but we got like such a great cast together, and everyone worked together really well. And we've talked about this ourselves, but just like the fact that like, you know, everybody was like a position player and was like a sum of the whole, like does not happen all the time. And everyone did such a great job of like, they get a moment that where they kind of come out as a character, but then also they're all like, the ego was so low that they were all really supporting each other, and it builds into like, you know, this thing that feels real and genuine without like without there being like a standout or whatever. I don't know. It really felt like a group, like, you know, effort, which was really fun. And I as a director, I always loved, like, I don't know, being part of the group of the actors and trying to figure it out together. And that's like, to me, always going to sort of like yield the best results.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love what you say about position players. Like, no ego. Everyone kind of had the same vibe as Ryan, and like they're all so the core guys like Daniel, Thomas, Cameron, who am I missing? Slavic. Oh my God! Like they were so funny without seeming to try to be funny.
And
I still remember
Brendan, who played the monster, who always did short shrift, and like, man, you want to talk about suffering for your art? He did such a great job, and like, like a pretty thankless role, but he nailed it.
Yeah.
But sorry, you were saying.
I just what I love about everyone is that they were so innately funny without seeming to try to go for the joke. You know, they really played the kind of the self-important seriousness, and I think that we took our cue maybe from Christian in terms of that. Like, no one was trying to send these people up. Everyone knew that their own innate stupidity of like the way we look is more funny if you play it really serious. You know, it's like, you know,
Well, I feel like that is the perfect place to sort of round things up. But before we let you go, we have to
innate stupidity. I mean,
that's 100% the core of the
on my fucking tombstone.
But before we let you go, we've got to ask everyone, of course, the old age question of what is your favorite scary movie?
I think I already talked about mine. I rewatched The Thing last year, and I just was like, this is literally the perfect movie. This has not an ounce of fat. Even the crazy when you see the creature at the end and it's all insane and like, you know, all that stuff they cut out, thank goodness. But the movie, it's just, I just love movies that let the tension grow from the problem rather than this terrible idea of like making you like the characters because they have a fucking dog or a child or, you know, some problem. I just love movies that are lean and mean and take no prisoners. So The Thing, I think is tops in my book.
I would say for me, it's a tie between the original Dutch version of The Vanishing, which the final moments freak me out, and then probably the animated version of Beaches.
Yeah.
Bette Midler was terrifying.
Oh yeah.
Animated Bette Midler.
Yeah. The trolls version.
My classic go-to, I get just Silence of the Lambs or Seven, like serial killer movies just scare the shit out of me. And The Shining, probably. And then my new one that I've been like watching over and over again, it's not super scary, but I guess it's a horror, I don't know. But Bram Stoker's Dracula, just the design and the build of that is like, man, beautiful. and the visuals of that are so cool. And the crazy operatic acting is my favorite.
Oh,
Mhm.
yeah.
Oh, if you guys are gonna throw, I'm gonna throw in Audition too, because I think that's the one I've seen the most out of all.
Yes.
Yeah.
Such a great film.
Mhm.
That was great.
Oh, and I just recently saw Host on Shudder. Have you guys seen that?
We love Hosts, yeah.
Yes.
It's great.
Mhm.
It's ridiculous. I was born in England, so I want to work with those people tomorrow.
Mhm.
Yeah, like that was amazing.
I just watched
behind the
Cronenberg's
scenes.
Possessor too. The new Brandon Cronenberg
Ooh.
Possessor
Oh, is that
is
good?
really like
Yeah.
a bit of a mind fuck in a way that I didn't
Yeah.
expect.
That's a good one too.
Mhm.
There's so many great ones on Shudder.
Yeah.
On
Yay, Shudder.
Shudder.
Yay,
On
Shudder, babe.
Shudder.
Children of the Shudder.
Well, actually, then there's another good one that I just saw on Shudder as well, The Columnist. I think it's a Dutch
I haven't
film.
seen that.
And it's just a reporter who, which in appropriate times, gets sick of these Twitter trolls and goes after them.
Wow.
Sounds like a really happy movie, actually. Yeah.
I mean, I was like, I can't fault her for what she's doing,
Yeah.
but by all means.
Oh, I think real quick, we have a special guest. Hey, Ben, come here.
Hey.
Hey, Ben.
Do you have like a little cage for him?
Oh my. Benjamin Kitchens,
Hey.
DP of VHS 94's
DP
Terror.
extraordinaire. How's it
Sorry,
going?
I'm trying to switch my speakers over here.
We missed you in LA.
We're doing a podcast, man. This is the future. Sorry.
Never have
hold
to
on
see each
one
other
second.
again.
I'm gonna-
There we go. Hello.
Hello.
Sorry, I hijacked this. We were just wrapping up. But this is cinematographer to the star, Benjamin Kitchens.
Hey.
Hey.
Hi, Ben.
Shot of VHS 94 Terror fame.
Terror.
Yes.
Terrifying.
How was that filming that then? We've got to ask you why you're here.
What were the
Awesome.
highlights, Ben, of filming VHS 94?
I don't know. Wearing the same outfit that Ryan wore, that also one of the cast wore. I think.
Yeah.
Hear that somewhere.
He's trying to fit in.
Was it you, Steve?
Yes,
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
That was definitely one of the highlights. I think.
We had the same Mackinac. Like all three of us had the
Yeah,
Walmart.
the closed cigarettes inside of a van from the 1980s was also a highlight for me.
Yeah, Ben had to ride in the van, obviously.
Just
to
keep
shoot.
smoking, guys. It looks good.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was a good.
You talk about ad libs. Christian, you brought that jerky,
beef jerky.
which was
Yes.
hysterical. He brought the beef jerky in and he's chomping on, and it had the symbol, like the malicious symbol, like magic marker on the baggie itself, and that made me laugh. I don't know how much I think you're munching on it on one of the couple of the shots in the van, but
Oh my God.
so
Well,
funny.
I love that I said, can I eat jerky in the scene? And you're like, only if you're smoking between bites. And I was like, okay.
One of my favorite, I mean, that's like a very cheap gimme cinematic joke, but the like people eating and while they're smoking is like, man, so good.
Yeah.
And era appropriate, I feel like. 94, people didn't know not to eat
Yeah.
jerky and smoked meats and smoked cigarettes.
Double smoked.
Well, I think that's a perfect place to end. Because I know-
Smoking and beef jerky.
Yes. George.
Oh,
I'll
and I
let
just
you-
have to say
oh.
one. Can I say one final thing?
Oh, yeah.
Steve's directorial debut was O Negative about vampires, and then he's in this movie about vampires, and then he's on Epic's Chapelwaite. Guess what? He's playing a vampire.
That's true. It's paying my child's. It's paying for his food right now. Yeah. The VHS 94 money is gone though.
Yeah,
That was gone the week
Yeah,
after.
weekend.
pretty much. Yeah.
That was like one pack of diapers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we'll have to
Yeah, exactly.
negotiate for the series. We might have to negotiate.
George, I'll let you take us. I'm terrible when it comes to wrapping up. I'll let George do it. He does this professionally.
Well, what can I say? I am a professional. But no, thank you very much again to everyone for listening. And of course, thank you so much to Ryan, Christian, Steven, everyone for joining us today. It's been an absolute honor. We've loved VHS 94, of course. If you haven't seen it already, which of you haven't, then like, what is life? You can get it off, of course. It's available to stream now on Shudder, and it is the best film. It's the highest film. It's amazing. You need to go and see it. If you haven't seen any of the VHSs, doesn't even matter. Just go and watch this one because it's a lot of fun. And of course, you can see us again next week with more content. We've got a lot coming, more VHS stuff coming up as well. And make sure that you hit that like button, the subscribe button, and the bell button, because if you don't hit that bell button, you're never going to know. And sometimes Yutaka drops things in just middle of the night, and you won't know it's there. So make sure you go and check all of those out as well. But no, thank you so much for listening. And guys, once again, thank you for joining us. We've had such a great time. So,
Yes,
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All
Bye,
right.
guys.
And
Have a good
bonus
one. Bye,
Benjamin.
everyone.
Bonus Benjamin.
Exactly. Say bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
You have been listening to the Horror Hour. See you next time.